Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back on the Updates 1.85 dev server and we're having a look at the HMS Dido. This is a rank 4 battle rating 5.3 light cruiser for the British. Now remember, each of the nations that have naval forces right now got themselves a new light cruiser. The Soviets, the Germans, the Americans and also the British. So this is the British version of what we are going to see at top tier. They're all 5.3 as well. So what do we see? Well, we have 5 sets of dual 5.25-inch guns, the Mark 1s. We have 3 on the front here and then 2 on the back. Then you have access to 2 quad sets of 40mm 2-pounders and then 5 Oerlikons as well. So we're seeing a lot of power from the main guns, maybe not as much as other nations, but we are seeing a decent amount of AA on this as well. On top of this, I really like the armor layout of the Dido, and the reason for this is because it has a ton of armor actually covering the areas where its main guns are. So you see 76mm of armor. Generally you don't see this from many ships in game, but on the Dido it has 76mm, which are covering the ammo storage of these guns. If you actually have a look, here is the ammunition storage for the main guns and the armor is right there to cover it. So unless you shoot above it and then down, then it should be able to cover. The other 76mm is there to cover the ammo here as well. So taking out and ammo racking the Dido using, the larger guns should be harder to do. There's also some armor in the center. It has a little bit of 75mm, which is a decent amount in the center, and this is to protect the engines, which you see here. They are set up in sets of 4, and then you also have the transmissions, which are set up in sets of 2. Overall, these are well protected as well. It pretty much means if you're not throwing something AP-wise at this, with, the 200mm AP, you're going to bounce off quite a lot of times against the Dido, and it's going to be able to fire back. Now, one thing I am worried about is the secondary armaments. If we look at the other light cruisers that have been added, the Raleigh, the secondary armaments of this are 8 3-inch Mark 10 guns, and they're also, it has extra 6 inches as well, on the front. It just has a ridiculous amount of guns. The Germans, the secondary guns are 3 dual 88s, which you can see here, which are very, very beefy. Then we look at the Krasny Krim. The secondary weapons are 3 sets of dual 100mm. If we have a look at the British secondaries, it's 2 quad 40s. So it's definitely aimed at being able to deal with aircraft, and therefore you're going to have to rely majorly on your main guns to be able to kill ships. And that's generally okay for machines like this, but it is something you have to take into account when you are taking out this machine. So it does have access to 6 torpedoes, 3 on each side, so a bit less than everybody else. And as you can see, it sits in the fleet tree just after the Enterprise. I would actually prefer to take the Enterprise over this machine, and the reason for it is because the Enterprise just has much more versatility in the guns that it has, whereas the Dido is a little bit quicker and also has a ton more armor. So this is harder to kill, whereas the Enterprise is much more designed to kill. So if you want to be a bulky guy and you want to be able to tank shots and stuff like that, the Dido is the way for you. Now let's have a look at the modifications that the Dido has access to. The first thing to understand is the 40mm, you can actually get the belts for them. The 20mm you are stuck with default, which is Hefty and APT. The 133mm guns, which are the 5.25 inches, they have access to 3 rounds. You start off with the HE round, 34mm a pen. Not too good if you're facing anything with armor. And since we've just added a bunch of light cruisers which do have armor on them, then I feel like it's not going to be a very useful round. On top of this, you have the SAP, semi-armor piercing shell, as 1.47 kilograms of explosive mass, still a very good amount of explosive mass in it, about half the HE shell. 162mm a pen, good stuff. The last round is the HEVT, so this is a high explosive variable time fuse shell, 34mm, once again, not good enough for me to be able to shoot other light cruisers. And my light cruiser is not really supposed to be designed to kill destroyers, especially with the new light cruisers in the game. I would much prefer to set it up so it was designed to kill light cruisers. So what I would do personally is I would take some of the HEVT, I'd take a lot of the SAP, And then if I was facing a light cruiser, I'd use the SAP. If I'm facing a destroyer where most of them don't really have a lot of armor, you take the HEVT, you annihilate whatever's over there. For the 40mm guns, personally I like HE, just so we can deal with any of the aerial threats that are going to be around, because obviously being a large ship, you want to have that AA cover from whatever is coming into you. Unfortunately, when we have a look at the Dido, the customization, there is nothing there. There is only its outer skin that you see here. So that's kind of a shame, but I understand why. It's a lot of camouflage, I think is the way to put it. But yeah, for me, when I have a look at this machine, I see a machine which is very powerful in its main guns, but does struggle slightly when it comes to its secondaries, unless we're talking about aircraft. So one of the things that is key for these larger ships is that they match up well against ships which are also larger. It also matters if they're fast, because it means that they can actually get to the battlefield. And something that I'm also seeing in the Krasnikov Cats and also the Rally is a lot of guns on the front of it. So when we look at this machine, I see a lot of guns on the front of it, which is good. It means that we can put our best armor front, and they basically have a really small silhouette to shoot at, and also they are going to struggle to be able to, penetrate the sides of it, so that's great. And we have the big, set of 6 guns on the front, so that's all looking good, Let's just fire some HEVT, since that destroyer shouldn't really have a lot of armor on it. So let's just donk around over there. My god, the muzzle velocity is really not good on these guns. I thought it would be a lot better than that. Maybe with the AP it'll be better. Right, let's fire a second volley. See if we can hit. If not, we can just move up a little bit. And let's see how it goes. Nah, it's not doing a lot. Let's switch over to the SAP. Make sure that we get the distance correct. With the HE, I mean, it's doing okay, but it's not doing a ton. Target is destroyed. I have no idea. Oops. I said the gun is to destroy the boat over there. Let's make sure that that doesn't happen. But yeah, the muzzle velocity on these guns is definitely not as good as the German ones that I was using before. They should still put out a lot of damage from them. You're still talking about 10 guns. You're talking about 10 very large shells being able to go over there and put some big holes in whatever destroyer it feels like. And we can see that the 20mm are firing at the aircraft. They're not doing a great job, but they're doing okay. Let's just move over here. And then we can just plop some torpedoes over. And they can do that automatically. I don't like, as I said before, I don't like the automatic nature of the new torpedo mechanics. I think that's a bad idea. It takes away onus from the player instead of giving it onus. And so far, I'm not that impressed with the SAP. You've got to remember, I tested out the German naval light cruiser, and I one-shot this destroyer with the first shell. And with the second time when I restarted it, I two-shot the damn thing. So, looking at it now, this destroyer is lasting a hell of a lot longer than it did the first time when I was facing it in the German machine. But yeah, that might just be because the rounds are overpenning. They might be doing a little bit less, or they might not be doing a ton of stuff. But we do have an LS here, just to make us feel a little bit better about our lives. So this LS could probably kill us, since our secondary gunners are not doing the best job at killing it, but maybe, or hopefully at some point, they'll be able to kill this damn thing. Oh. I do want to check something. So, secondary weapons are the 40mm. So they do shoot, but for some reason before they just didn't feel like it. I feel like they have some weird angles going on here with the 40s. Like I should be able with one of them to shoot over here, right? And I can do, but I didn't see them shooting before. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Oh, we can see the propellers under the water, that's kind of cool. But yeah, the 40mm in the center, I mean, it's kind of hard to see them, but they're in the center of the boat right there. I feel like they're not really doing a lot. They're not really shooting at anything. They're not having a go, and it might just be because of the position that they're in. Or maybe there is an issue with their targeting. I'd have to have a think. But they are firing now, or at least one set of them is. And once they start opening up, I feel like they're going to do a ton of damage to any aircraft that comes in. But the question is, can you make them open up when you want them to? And if you can't, then you're going to be in for a rough time. The guns are trying to set themselves up, because they take ages since it's a light cruiser. And let's see if we can get them all down and ready. One set is already ready. And lowering the guns, as you can see, they're all lowering at the same time, which is wonderful. And bink. Let's get in, update distance, fire one. So that's going to be a lot of damage put out, but I'm not really happy with this SAP compared to what I saw from the other light cruiser. Overall, we're going to have to see how it plays. I feel like just going towards an enemy in like this kind of formation, so you have the 6 guns staring at the enemy is the way to go, and then you'll kind of be very, very indestructible since you have the extra armor on the front. But anyway, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm a little bit worried about this compared to the other cruisers I've tried, but it should be okay. It still has a ton of big guns, and it is a secondary light cruiser, which is lovely to see. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.